bloodsuckers.
As you walk through the valley of the shadow of hell,
Join us!
you will realize that there is something ahead.
Groovy.
Something that lurks behind the dark veil.
We have such sights to show you.
A veil that is beyond our own comprehension.
I'm just gonna bash your brains.
Beyond the void.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void
Horror Podcast.
That's right, it's episode 196, and today we are continuing the Amityville franchise with parts 6 and 7. We're doing Amityville 1992, It's About Time, and
Amityville, A New Generation from 1993.
And boy, one of these
is a doozy.
It's not as bad as the last week necessarily, but we'll find out when we talk about both of them. And we encourage you guys, if you haven't seen the movies, maybe check them out first. I think you can find both of these on BTV. And just recently, Shudder, Christina pointed out,
1992, It's About Time is coming out on Shudder this week.
Booyah.
So you have no excuse. You might watch this movie.
You might watch this movie?
You should
maybe not watch. She's trying not to spoil what we think of these movies.
I was trying.
So how have you been? How's your week? How's everything going aside me being crazy?
Oh, as usual.
Per usual, yeah.
I'm trying to resist the urge to go Halloween shopping because all the Halloween stuff's out, but you gotta stay at home if it's not a necessity. And technically, Halloween is a necessity.
Technically, Halloween's canceled, guys. We're gonna be throwing candy out in the street for the kids. Fuck it, it's Arizona. We know it's hot. The asphalt's gonna fucking be hot until 2 a.m. But the children are just gonna have to scrape it out with a fucking spoon. Deal with it, you pieces of shit.
Well, I don't care about the kids. I just want to go buy home decor.
I wonder how that is going to be this year, though, because, like, if families don't care about, like, you know what I mean? Do they wipe down their candy, each individual piece?
It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
it's not
probably not.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of people don't celebrate it.
No, we don't get too many kids.
We got a lot last year.
We did. Well,
you weren't here for most of it. I was here.
We gave out big candy. We give out big candy, though. And
we gave them those big old candy bars.
The years, like, they come here because they know they'll get the good candy.
Yeah, they tell their friends, and then their friends tell their friends.
And then they bring their cousins.
Yeah, and then they bring people to fly in from out of state to fucking get these large-ass candy bars.
Yeah, all the way. You can't buy it for $1.
Yeah, I'd buy that for $1. But yeah,
it's been hot.
It's really fucking hot.
It was the hottest July ever.
And you guys who say that Arizonans can't say it's fucking hot,
who says that?
It's everybody. They're like, whoa, it's Arizona. That's because we're in the fucking desert.
Well, yeah, but there's a difference. If you don't know, like, the dry heat, there's a difference between 105 and 110, and you can, like, totally tell the difference.
And there's also a difference between 110 in humidity and not. And we do get humidity out here, guys. As surprise to say, it does.
But when we get the humidity, it's not that hot. It's not, the temperature isn't that high.
Everybody's excited about us talking about the weather.
I know, because we're a bunch of old people who've been hanging out in our house.
It's like we're hanging on a bus right now.
We totally are.
Riding. Hey, how you doing? Oh, how about that weather, huh?
Anyway, I could talk about my arthritis too. Will that help?
Yeah, that's the... What? No.
I was just kidding.
Did you pay your subscription to Life Alert, by the way? I just thought about that.
Help, I've fallen and I can't get out.
Does that stuff still exist?
Yeah, I bet. I mean,
even with cell phones and shit? Like,
I mean,
and Alexas and...
Come on, phones are still fucking complicated for older people.
Oh, that's true.
You know, pushing a single button, that's a lifesaver. That can save someone's life, Christina.
That is a good idea. You should patent that shit.
Speaking of which, if you would like to save your life, we have been sponsored by... No, I'm kidding. We have not been... Our first sponsor is a fucking elderly fucking
Totally
like
a walker.
who is listening that's 80 years old? I mean, maybe 40 is probably a middle, you know.
I hope Metamucil. We could do a Metamucil shot.
Why can't we
A
get like
Metamucil
Jägermeister?
horror
They
shot.
sponsor everything. You know what I mean? Like Jägermeister, hit us up, bruh.
We could do a Jägermeister.
We would be so Jägermeistered out though.
Metamucil Jägermeister shot.
Oh my God, Christina, please no. That sounds
we
terrible.
we could pair it with like a old
First of all,
movie.
isn't Metamucil kind of like milk?
No, I didn't-
Milky?
Metamucil.
Or is it the,
That's that's Malox.
is it like Tang?
It's like Tang.
Oh my
it's
God.
like Tang. It's the orange.
You would know, of course.
Of course I do. Yes, because I have to have my
Can
fiber.
you tell us about diapers
I need
too
to
or
poop.
anything?
My poop came out really good today. I had a good poop.
All right,
I had a
all
good
right.
poop.
See, look, you give her a little fucking off the leash and she just fucking runs. And then she gives me shit for talking so fucking stupid.
Well, it's because I don't like to talk about sucking dicks all the time.
Fuck you. I don't talk about sucking
Yes, you
dicks.
do.
She's-
Replay the last episode. You probably said it like 3 times.
I'm just not afraid to say it. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't bother me. If someone thinks I suck dicks, I don't give a fuck. Like, what are you going to do about it? I suck dicks, everybody. Welcome to the dick party. Stick it in my mouth. See, we had to add one in just in
There you
case.
go.
But she went there first. I just want to point this out to the courtroom and to the listeners right now. She went there first.
I'll take it.
But anyway, I think it's about that time. Jesus Christ, saved by the shot.
What time is it?
Horror shots. All right, guys. So this week we're going to be doing a shot based around the movie Amityville 1992. It's about time. And this one is called
Rusty Clock.
A Rusty Clock. So why did we call it that? Well, the theme of the movie is about a clock. It surrounds around this evil clock from the Amityville home. So we decided to make an interesting shot. I don't really know why we did it this way, but
Because that's all we had.
yeah, what we did is we did half a shot of butterscotch, 99 butterscotch, and half a shot of,
Black Velvet.
that's right, Black Velvet and Little Boss Smile.
Okay. We got it. You can karaoke.
All right.
It smells good.
I'm a little, I'm not a butterscotch fan here,
Oh,
but
you're not?
not really. Nah.
This is a cheap shot.
So before we do this shot, we got to set a fucking alarm. This is the fucking thing, remember? Because it's about time, remember?
Time is up is what
Oh,
TikTok,
shit.
TikTok and that bitch.
Tick-tap it up. Tick-tap it up. Talk? Tip?
TikTok.
All right,
On
so
the clock.
so what you do is you set your fucking alarm clock here, your timer, for 10 seconds, and then you race to see who finishes this shot
Maybe.
first.
Oh, okay.
All right, so I've got it marked here. Hold on.
What's
Let me
with the
fucking
New
turn
York-
on my fucking notifications.
What's with the New York accent? Where did
Hey,
that
what's-
come from? We're
What's
not
with you
doing-
fucking persecuting me how I fucking talk? This is where I was from. This isn't a fucking costume.
They do not talk like that from Baltimore.
All right, well, whatever. All right, sometimes it just voices come into like
They just come to you.
yeah, like I just like talking. I do a lot of things that I don't realize that I'm
I
doing.
know.
Like I've recorded myself, just left the recorder and left it on by accident, and then I just sing songs all the time. I don't
Right.
even realize I'm doing it. You know, like I was like, what? I don't remember singing that. Anyway, so you set your fucking alarm for fucking 10 seconds. We're doing it now.
Okay. Well, you're gonna win.
And then you wait around, you stare at each other, and you punch one of each other in the face.
I will fucking punch you.
And it go! You beat me?
I beat you, bitch. Oh God.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, but who's gonna puke first?
Oh, that shit.
You might be the winner on that one.
Oh, that shit burned.
Oh, yeah, it does.
But it has like
It's a good aftertaste. It's
It
just,
has a butterscotch.
oh my God.
It tastes like one of those hard candies Grandma gives you.
Oh my God. Gamma.
Gamma, are you okay? Are you okay? Do you need to take a break?
Are you joking?
No, your face is all red.
Is it really?
All red, yeah.
Oh, I'm just embarrassed for you because you threw up and I took it out of the editing. Anyway, guys, if you would like to take a rusty clock, all you have to do is go to longlivethevoid.com. Check out our hashtag horror shots section now. Well, that's it for Horror Shots.
I'll rusty your clock, bitch.
All right, guys, so now we're going to go ahead and jump into our flesh and potatoes of Amityville 1992. It's About Time and
Amityville, A New Generation 1993.
Right now.
All right, so Christina did the information on this one. We're switching things up a little bit this week, so let's see if you guys notice.
Doubtful. Anyway. All right, this movie is about Jacob Sterling, an architect. He brings home a mysterious clock from the infamous Amityville house, not knowing that it's haunted by demonic spirits. Wow. Tagline, it's been expecting you. This tag's fucking stupid. All right. Directed by Tony Randall. He also directed Hellbound, Hellraiser 2.
Right. That was one movie that had some serious cuts to it because it was too graphic.
Right, and we watched that for the Joe Bob Briggs thing.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
We had a lot of jokes on Twitter for that.
Yeah, we did. He also directed this movie called Ticks from 1993.
Awesome movie. We reviewed it.
Oh, stupid me. He also directed an episode of Joe Bob's Drive-In Theater from 1995.
Yeah, that's funny.
And he also did the visual effects from Escape on New York. Escape from New York. New York, not on New York. It's from New York.
I'm gonna escape all over you in New York.
Ew, that's gross. Stop.
Sexy bitch.
Okay, the writer, John J. Jones. We talked about him last week.
John G. Jones.
Oh, god damn it. My fucking dyslexia. John G. Jones. We talked about him last week. He wrote Amityville Horror Evil Escapes. Mm-hmm. And then he also has a novel in development called Amityville Legacy 3D.
Right. He did all the stories. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for both this one. Mm-hmm. And the Evil Escapes, because technically we have some trivia on it, but his book is based off of some of the events that take place in both of these movies, the Evil Escapes and this one.
I wonder if that one has a haunted, another haunted object.
You'll find out.
Fucking Christ. The other writer is Christopher DeFaria. He hasn't really written anything, but he produced such films as Ready Player One and Mad Max Fury Road.
That's right.
Also another writer, Antonio Toro. Mm-hmm. He did this, and he did Amityville: A New Generation, which is the next movie we're going to talk about.
Okay. All
right, this movie stars Stephen Macht. He plays Jacob, the father, and he was also the father in the Monster Squad. I love that movie.
I know. I always remember him in there because he's sitting out on the roof with them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was a good part.
Yeah.
He was also in Graveyard Shift, and he was also in Tracers 4 from 1994, and most recently he stars in that Suits TV show that I've never seen.
Neither have I.
Okay, Sean Weatherly, who plays Andrea, she's most famous for her role as Jill on Baywatch. She was also in Police Academy 3.
Mm-hmm. I remember, yeah.
You remember? And she was in this movie called Shadow Zone from 1990.
Own that, yeah.
You do?
I think we did a review of that once. Yeah.
Oh, how funny. Right, Megan Ward, who plays Lisa, she's from General Hospital, a lot of General Hospital. And she's also been in a lot of CSIs and NCISs. She was also in Encino Man from 1993. I love that movie.
I haven't seen that in forever.
I know, I haven't either. I'd love to watch that again though. But anyway, so Damon Martin, who plays Rusty, the brother, he was in
Rusty Clock, by the way, guys. Get it?
Oh, Rusty Clock. He was in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. He was in Ghoulies 2, Freddy's Nightmare, the TV series. Now, this was the last movie he acted in.
That's right, he was in Ghoulies 2. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Now, this was the last movie he acted in. And he went on to produce films such as Night of the Demons and that Freakonomics
Wait,
documentary.
which Night of the Demons? What year?
Night of the Demons 2009.
Yeah, that was a remake.
Oh, the remake. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
with Edward Norton. Edward Norton. Jesus Christ. The kid from Terminator 2.
Furlong.
Edward Furlong. Thank you.
Edward Furlong. I couldn't find a budget for this movie. Was this straight to video?
Yes.
Oh, okay, well, that's why. And what were your thoughts on Amityville 1992? It's About Time, which is a really stupid title.
Well, first, there was a budget of about 1.2 million, the director said in the commentaries and stuff.
Oh.
It was about 1.2 million budget.
Okay.
But straight to video, so there's no, although they did do one screening, apparently, of this movie in a stadium with 4,000 people.
Huh.
Yeah, crazy, right?
That is crazy.
He said it was one of the coolest experiences he had ever seen.
4,000 people?
Yeah, 4,000 people, dude. Like, what the fuck?
They must have been giving out free hot dogs or something.
Yeah, somebody was. Dicks in the mouth. Kidding.
This is the theme of the episode.
Yeah, I guess so. So, yeah, this isn't a big budget haunted house movie, and it's not the best in the franchise, of course, either, but it's still fucking entertaining. And not just in the so bad it's good way, it's actually just entertaining and creative to me. Like, I think you can definitely see the style of Randall in this. Like, you get vibes of Hellraiser in here with the whole plucky, like, music score that they have in this, which, by the way, I think is really pretty good. A nice little tune that goes with the whole kind of thing. It's got, like, a mix between, like, Hellraiser and, like, Puppet Master kind of like feel. I think it was, I forget, John Litt did the music for this, but anyway, I could definitely rewatch this movie again and have absolutely no problem doing so. I think they even did a much better job on the lighting and the angles and the cinematography. All of it was pretty decent. Like, I liked the shadows that they did in this movie, and they even talk about that in the extras. So I was glad to hear about that. And we'll talk about that later. It's not a scary movie, but what they did with it is actually really cool for a 92 indie straight-to-video horror film, in my opinion. This is one that will be one of those movies that if you were to still flip through channels and stuff and you saw this on, you would be like, hey, well, what's this? And then you would just stick around because there's such little treats all the way through the whole fucking movie. I remember watching this on Cinemax, I think, or one of those channels or whatever. We only subscribed to Cinemax as a kid, so I have fond memories of that. And even before then, we had a thing called Super TV, which was before this movie, I think. Oh. It was like one of the first internet packages on the East Coast that you could get. Okay. Or not internet, but cable TV. Cable. Yeah. And they had a Skinemax night, too, on Super TV. It does have a lot that happens in this film, too, so you shouldn't be bored to tears with it like some of the other movies in the franchise. I think it's pretty snappy with a lot of moments that they have, lots of people against people changing, and a lot of batshit weird stuff going on to make it appealing to most people. This isn't, like a huge, big budget, like great movie, but it is good. It's good. I think it's underappreciated.
Right.
One of the more standout movies in the entire franchise. It even has some gore, nudity for those who enjoy masturbating to horror films. I know what you're doing out there, guys, so just know I'm in your window taking pictures.
He's watching you. Ew, gross. Come on. That's gross.
I'm just saying. The acting is definitely stepped up quite a bit here, too, in my opinion. But there's very little atmosphere, although some of the shots are kind of atmospheric, I guess you could say. Just very little scares. It's just kind of a story. But the gore is fun, enough to push it, into the awesome category or decent category at the very least. It's also clear that these Amityville movies decided that franchise is going to go towards, a yard sale. There's some sort of item that he picks up that somebody picks up. Objects. And then that object is also haunted because the evil's trying to get out of the Amityville house because, and I forgot about this, in part 3, they blow up the house.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
You watched it. What the fuck are you asking me?
I don't fucking remember.
She was like, yeah, I didn't really watch it. I just told you I did. But
that's bullshit, you fucking asshole.
Anyway, it's the same recipe here as in part 4 where they pick up an item. It's a clock this time. They bring it home. The evil needs to leave that house and find a new one. And not only does it control the family, but it controls time, which is an interesting dynamic that they added in this film that I think is actually pretty cool and kind of reminds me of like, I don't know, in moments I get vibes of like other 90s films of that time frame that are dealing with time, like Warlock movies or, I don't know, it just feels like that kind of air about it, which is pretty interesting. Little addition to the franchise that has long gone off the rails into the silly side of demons for the most part at this franchise part, you know what I mean? Part 6. So if it's gonna happen anyway, this isn't really a bad one of the silly bunch, In fact, I enjoyed it overall more than 4. I'd give this one a 7, maybe even a 7.5. Like if I were to pull one off the shelf, it would definitely be the first 2 and maybe that one. I like this better than I think the third one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. What about you, though?
Oh, let's see. Well, now that I understand what the franchise is about, which isn't the fucking house.
Yeah, I know. But what are you going to do? I mean, they did blow up the house. That's one excuse. And the second excuse is probably somebody was living in it and didn't want their house used as a fucking prop for horror movies all the time.
Well, then they should have just slapped a different name on the movies.
Right. I know. But at least they show it in this movie.
Yeah.
And I like how they did the comparison to the new house with the 2 windows.
Right.
Which was different.
Right.
Because they're in like a cookie cutter housing area in LA.
And Calabasas.
Calabasas, yeah.
Yeah. And the address is listed. But anyway, I think this movie fits in well with the franchise. Now that I understand what's going on.
Yeah.
I think it fits in well. I have the same feelings about this movie that I had with The Evil Escapes. I was a little bit more disgusted with this movie because of the incest factor.
Well, this is rated R.
Oh, yeah. Well, the
other one was rated PG or something.
Yeah, it was like PG or... Well, it was a
PG-13.
TV. That was a TV movie, too.
Right.
So, okay, that makes sense. This was better than The Evil Escapes, though. The plot was easier to follow. I was a little confused in the beginning with the girlfriend being the ex-girlfriend babysitting the young adult children. But I mean, it ended up working out because they bring in the psychologist boyfriend. So I thought like the dynamics were really good. Even though it doesn't really have anything to do with the house, I felt like it was a better effort.
Story-wise or whatever.
Yeah. And more updated for the time than the previous movies. But it was okay.
There wasn't this stupid side story either with like a fucking investigation all the time either.
Right.
I mean, there was, but it was like less present than the Evil Escapes.
Right. Yeah, it made more sense. But I mean,
it almost makes me feel like it gave Evil Escapes a little too high score when I look at this because I do like that. Mm-hmm. But I think they're both kind of similar. This is just more entertaining.
Yeah, this one is definitely more entertaining.
It's a better whole.
I gave it a 4 out of 10.
Well, what did you give?
I think I gave it. Didn't I give that a 3? I gave Evil Escapes a 3. I gave this one a 4. I mean, I really...
Tough ground.
I'm sorry. I really could just go without seeing these movies again.
You can see the difference between... So this is good that you're here because for people who are normal and probably make sense, Christina's here. For people like me who are just some obligatory weird fucking anomaly that just likes weird shit, I guess, I'm here too. So.
I mean, we had fun watching it and stuff. I wouldn't watch it again.
I liked it, man. I thought it was great. I thought it was a fun movie. I think it's a good example, not necessarily of the first movie or anything, but if the franchise is already off the rails, this is a better
concept.
Yeah, and for a 90s movie compared to other movies, it's a kind of an underrated movie, I think, Right. It's just one of those movies that you would just, like I said, put on, Cinemax would pop on, you'd be flipping through the channels, you'd see this and be like, well, what is this?
Right.
And then all of a sudden you'd be watching the whole fucking thing.
Right. And I mean, they are putting this one on Shudder. So I mean, that
versus
says,
the other one,
which says something, I think.
Yeah. What did you guys think of this movie? I would love to hear what you guys thought. Do you agree with either of us? Do you think it's worse? Do you think it's better? I would love to hear from you guys down in the comments section below of any of our posts or on the actual episode itself on Long Live the Void. But we do have some trivia that we're going to go over and then talk about some scenes and things like that. So if you do not want anything spoiled, as Christina mentioned, you can watch it on Shudder or Tubi TV with ads free. So check it out. But here's your warning. They did this movie in about 25 days, supposedly. He originally said it was like 3 weeks, but it ended up being about 4 weeks to shoot this whole movie. And there's, I'm sure like pickup shots and stuff like that they did for this. But Tony Randall said he treated this film as its own thing other than, the clock being from the Amityville house and being brought to this house. That's the only connection. He really wanted to make this its standalone kind of movie. And I'm sure partly because, you have Hellraiser 2, which is debatable, and some people like it just as much as the first one or even more. I'm sure he was probably like, well, I really want my own, franchise that I can start that's going to be really good. And this is one of those movies that apparently he doesn't get a lot of questions about. He never gets asked about this film ever.
Right.
And he really appreciated this film. He really liked this film, and they made a real effort. He said he wanted to go a little bit more mainstream with this than he did with Hellraiser.
Oh, okay.
Because Hellraiser was like one of the movies that had, the ratings board all in a fucking tiffy, as I mentioned.
Yeah, it was
This
nice.
one went through with no problem.
Oh,
yeah, but
he should have tried harder.
Well, I don't think it was. I think it was just written so it wasn't as gory.
Right.
It's Hellraiser, for Christ's sake, in the first and the second one, so. Also, Tony Randall said that coming from the Roger Corman kind of area, he said being able to direct Rick Miller, who plays a cameo in this movie, was kind of like a rite of passage. And he said not only was he great to work with, but it's probably one of the greatest honors in his career of his life to work with him.
Wow, that's nice.
And I agree.
Nice.
Dick Miller is such an underrated gem. He's like, there's nobody like him. You know what I mean? Like,
is he still alive? Is he still
No,
making
he
movies?
passed away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know who I'm talking about, right?
I think so.
He's the guy that was in Gremlins. Everybody always remembers.
Oh, okay.
The crazy guy.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Also, a lot of the effects on this movie were done by the famous KMB practical effects they did on the leg. I'm pretty sure the dog as well, which you said looked really good.
That was my favorite scene.
Yeah.
It was so funny.
Also, Chris DeFaria, the writer and producer of this movie that you talked about, said that this story was based off a story about all the items in the garage, just like we talked about from Evil Escapes, Part 4. Now, the guy who wrote that book, I found out, is an Australian. And John G. Jones, by the way, his book was based off of a garage. And each of the stories in that book, because we talked about it in the last episode, where each of the stories, there was like multiple different stories and they took a little bit from each. That's what happened with this movie, is that they took one of the items out of the many items of this garage sale that were haunted.
Stupid.
I don't think it's stupid. I think it's a great idea.
It's clever, but
that's like a perfect anthology fucking thing right there.
It should just be the house. I'm stuck on the house. I can't help it.
I don't think it's you have to let go at some point, I guess. I would like to see it in that house, but you can only go so long in that house. Like, honestly, like, how many times is someone going to fucking die in a house before you go, oh, maybe I should move in there? You know, like, like, come on. But this was the last movie in the entire franchise based on a book, supposedly. I don't know when that was written, but supposedly that's the last one based on any book. The rest have all been written, from scratch. So we do have some scenes that we're going to talk about, kind of run through this. Christine already mentioned, the dad from Monster Squad brings home a clock, and that's supposedly 200 years old, and you guessed it, from the Amityville house. Apparently his ex-girlfriend, who's pretty familiar with his kids, stayed with them while he was away at some job thing.
But they're like teenagers. They did not need a babysitter.
Right, and they look older than they really are.
Yeah, they really... But it's that time period thing where everybody looked older than they were. But anyway.
But yeah, he and that woman who watched his kids have a sort of thing. They were together before, and she's left because he was too busy, probably.
Right. It just didn't work out. But she still
or didn't
for
treat her the way she wanted, essentially.
Right.
She actually even said that he was dangerous. It's a playful thing as after they fucked.
Yeah.
Like a fucking...
Even though they were broken up.
Why is
she was seeing somebody else.
Have you ever noticed that, like, every time you watch these movies, when it's like in that situation, the girl's always on top?
Well, yeah, because they got to get a titty shot.
Is it like to show that she really wanted to do it?
No, it's because they wanted to get a titty ass shot.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That's probably a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always like always a girl riding on top. In real life, a lot of times, girls don't want to do that shit.
No way, I'm tired.
I didn't want to work for it.
I got a headache. But now that you think about it, it's so funny because when we were watching the movie, I was like, oh, it's because he just got home from his long trip and he's jet lagged.
He's tired. Well,
tired.
We do have to consider the male perspective.
Whatever.
I think it's definitely the titty shot. Let's just fucking call it that.
Right.
Not that you couldn't see titties like when she's laying on her back.
It's the angle.
Right. Well, you get to see the nape of the back.
And yeah, exactly. And the ass.
A little bit of the ass. Yeah, a little bit of the...
That's why. It's a Skinamax movie. Hello.
Anyway, meanwhile, while she's fucking upstairs, he put on the fireplace. He put the clock on the fireplace mantle, and it's literally drilling itself into the wall so that evil cannot be removed. Turns out, where it was safe, it is no more, and it needs a new home, as she says. Or who says it? Oh, the woman, the old woman.
The neighbor lady, the spiritual neighbor lady.
Where it was safe, it is no more, and it needs a new home. She's also excited about it, too. Did you notice? Rusty, the kid, this kid that's like a rule breaker, doesn't like to follow rules, the typical 90s kid, because we were all independent and we didn't want to follow the crowd. Nowadays, everybody follows the crowd or you're not part of it. It's completely different now. Like being an individual is actually frowned upon a little bit.
Right.
It may not seem that way to people who are, trying to be an individual, but ultimately, if you don't follow the crowd these days, it's a little different. But he, surprisingly, you think he's just this punk little kid, and he goes over and plays chess with this lady who just is into like weird shit, and she's psychic, and she's the Moriarty lady, kind of.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Totally.
She kind of fills that role a little bit.
Totally.
So do you have anything yet?
Nope.
Okay. I don't see. You guys think I just speak over her. I just write a lot of stuff down. But the Rusty kid, he goes downstairs and there's this really cool scene where he flips the light on and off and it looks like a different time, like a different dimension. Like the room is like a different house altogether. And like he's looking into the past of like the 1800s or whatever, 200 years ago, I guess. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty cool.
And the clock is there because they had clocks like that back then.
Right. I don't. They don't really explain why it goes back to that time.
Well, it's because that clock.
Right. It was in the picture.
Morps time.
Yeah, wasn't it a French clock and that was brought to the Amityville house and that's what made the Amityville house infected?
I don't fucking know.
Where this guy used to torture like fucking children on a fucking slab.
Then what about the lamp in the mirror?
I don't know. This doesn't have to do with that. This is just,
Sorry. It all has to make sense.
But then...
Oh, then the dad goes for a jog, right? And then he runs into the dog. The neighbor's dog.
Mrs. Temmant.
I don't remember. She had a jogging suit. She had the jogging suit from the 90s on.
Yeah.
You know, the
typical.
And it swooshes when like you move together.
It was like purple and blue.
And pink.
And white.
With that design.
Yeah.
It was so 90s.
And then, her dog Peaches.
Oh, yes. Her dog Peaches, who's a nice dog. Is a nice dog. Somehow they appear... I don't know where the fuck he was running, like by a canal or something, and then the dog like attacked him. That was the best thing.
It grabbed his leg. Like he could tell, like she's just looking at him like she's ready to fucking murder him. You could tell. She was like, "Oh, hey." He's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And she just lets the dog go with her hand, like opening up like intentionally, and she's like, "Fucking die."
And it was cool when the dog was attacking him because it looked cool. I mean, you could tell
real.
It looked like once you stared at the head of the dog for a while, you're like, oh, that's a fake head. But it did look.
If you're looking at the point of where he's getting bit, you're not really focusing on that. But us, because we've seen so many horror movies, we look at that shit, and so does everybody else who's a big horror fan. They're like, oh, what is that? Is it real? Is it? I don't know. And he like breaks a bottle and stabs it in the face too, which is fucking great. But then the dad, who's fucked up and bitten, he has to go to the hospital, and then the girl, his ex-girlfriend, who's watched his kids before for some reason, now gets roped into watching him again. She's got a boyfriend who's a therapist.
Right.
or doctor or whatever, but she helps him get home, and his wounds look like fucking large gashes.
Like, they didn't even give him stitches. I was like, he went to the fucking hospital, and it's like, they just threw a Band-Aid on it, and he's bleeding and gushing blood. It's like, what the fuck, dude? Like, what fucking hospital did you go to? Because I don't want to go there.
Yeah, that is really weird that they didn't have the fucking, like, stitches in it. Like, they just sent him home like that, and he was like, I refuse stitches. I'm a fucking man, and I fucking draw up plans for fucking houses.
And his fucking leg it was nasty looking.
It was pretty fucking, and it gets infected over the course of the movie, too.
And then when he was at home, and his bed just was covered in blood afterwards.
Yeah, that was pretty gross, too. Mm-hmm. That gash was pretty well done.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, but why wouldn't they sew it? It really doesn't make sense.
Right.
But then, of course, the ex-girlfriend, what's her name? Adrian? Yeah. She goes over to the neighbor's house where the dog...
It's Andrea, I'm sorry.
Andrea goes over to the house and talks to the neighbor who has the dog, and she's like, I'm really sorry that your dog might have gotten hurt with the glass bottle or whatever. She's like, what are you talking about? She's like, well, your dog got bit him and da-da-da-da. And she's like, no. She pulls him out, and it wasn't him. It was evil. Evil.
You done?
No. I'll never be done, Christina, so deal with it. It's the clock. That's what it is. It's the fucking clock. And why is it, okay? Like, in most horror or, well, I don't know. That's some powerful clock right there. You know what I mean? Like, how?
I don't, it's the power of
Isn't
evil.
it usually like, I don't know how it gets out of the house like that. If it has the power to get out, why doesn't it move around and just fucking kill everyone?
Right. Exactly. Why doesn't it just implode the earth? Problem solved.
Go down to the core and haunt it.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh. And the lava gets scared and blows up the earth.
That's what I'm saying. That's all it needs to do.
There is this scene where Rusty is talking to everyone for breakfast or lunch, and it's really cool. Like, they do it this old school way, but he's asked to grab something out of a different room or something, or some book, or I can't remember what it was, but he goes and he's like having this conversation. He's like,
it was a phone book. Sorry.
Because we don't use those anymore.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Why did you just use fucking internet?
So anyway. He goes to grab the phone book, and he's telling this story. I forget what the story's about, but as he's telling the story, he walks into the room. This takes place over about 17 seconds. And then he walks back. It's like obviously nighttime now, when it was daytime and it was lunch. Mm-hmm. Now it's nighttime. So like time has slipped, and he's like really confused. And Andrea's like, hey, where did you go earlier? Like, you just kind of fucking dipped out on us. Like, there's some food left over in the fridge if you're hungry or blah, blah, blah. And he was like, huh? So, but you know, what they did with that scene is they did it the old school way. Uh-huh. They didn't do any quick camera tricks or anything. They did it all in one shot.
Oh, that's cool.
And it had like several people move all the chairs and everything, cover up the windows, make it look dark, and then put
a towel on her head.
Yeah, got her hair wet, and then put a towel on her head, and then fucking had it good. I think that's cool. I admire that kind of work.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's cheap, it's effective if you know how to do it right. But nobody apparently, Chris Tafaria said, does that anymore.
They don't.
The producer.
Right. Except Children of Men. That was a cool shot. Anyway.
I like anytime you can like have like a long shot. And I think they did use 2 cameras in that shot, but technically they did everything all in one take. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There was this scene where Andrea sleeps in the daughter Lisa's bed, and she feels this weird black blob slip into bed with her while Lisa's trapped in the clock room downstairs where she's sleeping, banging on the door. It's this like weird, like, what?
Is this the part where like the door shuts and you can see the fucking string?
Yes. Well, you mean with Lisa downstairs?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lisa's downstairs, and she's like, you see the string pull the door shut.
Like, it's so obvious.
It is pretty obvious. But, you know, we're in 1080p land now, you know what I mean? Like, they weren't shooting back then like that.
Right.
And the screens that they used back then, I'm sure, were not very, like, you know, high def.
Yeah.
You couldn't see stuff like that.
Exactly.
So they were probably like, fuck, that's the only take we got. We got to use it. Anyway, the next day, the neighbor's house is painted with a swastika, like... And the police are blaming Rusty the kid because he's bad, I guess?
No, because it's easy to blame him because cops are lazy and fuck the police.
And he disappeared because he comes back and she was like, where were you? You know, Andrea's like, where were you? He was like, nowhere, just hanging out, just come back. He keeps getting blamed for everything because he looks like a fucking
punk kid.
Miscreant. You know what I mean? Like
misfit. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and that's how it was in the 90s, right?
Yeah, totally.
The next day, there's a really funny part though that where the dad is losing his mind in the draft room. He's like covered in a blanket and he's like doing his work for like his little houses and then he like smashes them and stuff. He's like repeatedly drawing pictures of the actual Amityville house like over and over and over again and mumbling to himself, which I got to give him credit. I thought he did a good job of being crazy.
Yeah, he did. He totally did.
Honestly, like I think his performance was actually really good.
He was kind of like a dick too, like an asshole crazy person.
A lot of the stuff that he did in the movie was actually apparently some of his ideas. Mm-hmm. And Randall actually was like cool with it. Like at one part, you know how he's like decaying sort of because of the infection in his leg and the evil's getting into him as well. So it's like thrown in there to say like, oh, what is it? Mm-hmm. Well, he asked if he could put cotton balls in his mouth so that it would change his voice and make him look more disfigured a little bit with the makeup that they had because he's all sweaty and like gross all the time.
Right.
I just think he did a really good job. He plays a good dickhead.
Yeah.
And a like an evil person.
He does.
And he's also really kind of cool. That's when, you know, because like, you know, they've had this like sexual relationship with each other and they're this old past. Andrea eventually invites her boyfriend over who was a therapist and is there to talk things over with Rusty because of course he painted the swastika over there, which he didn't.
Right.
I don't even know where, did they even say what happened with that?
Well, you know, the evil painted the swastika.
Yeah.
Duh.
Some white supremacist spirit. Some piece of shit, garbage fucking piece of shit. Anyway, downstairs, Andrea, she invited her therapist friend and he like talks to Rusty. He's like, yeah, I'd like to have a little chit chat with you sometime later. And he's like, cool. Fuck off. I know what you're doing. Like, why are you here? My dad's like in love with this fucking woman, obviously, and she's kind of like our mom. Like, fuck off. And there was this really cool scene where Jacob, the father, meets this Leonard guy, the therapist, and Leonard's like reaching out to shake his hand as he's like leaning on a crutch. And he's like, his wound is like open. The fucking bandage is like flapping around with like oily, gross shit. And he's like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't shake your hand, you know?
Coronavirus.
And Jacob gives him this look like, are you fucking serious right now? You want me to shake your fucking hand? You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's so good. I love that scene. It's so funny. And he's like, ooh, wow, that looks pretty bad. I love this shit. Because it's more than just bad. It's really fucked up.
It was.
Anyway, so the boyfriend, Leonard, goes downstairs and he's been like psychoanalyzing the Jacob dad with his wife or girlfriend or whatever. And they're eating Laotian food, not Chinese food, Laotian food.
Oh, the 90s.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's like I can order from anywhere. I'm not special because of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it used to be like you could go find a nice restaurant and everybody would think you're such a wonderful, oh God, look at his taste. He has such wonderful taste. Like, whatever, dude. It's fucking takeout. That's when we get to see Dick Miller, by the way, because the hedges catch fire. And guess who saves the fucking day? Dick Miller.
Yeah, he was in that just briefly. I thought he'd pop back up again.
Yeah, it was a nice cameo. I wanted to see more, obviously, but it was just something that Tony Randall wanted to put him in there for because of that rite of passage sort of thing. He had to have him in there.
Oh, okay.
So
that makes sense.
You know, it would be nice to see more of him. I think he was underutilized there, obviously, but it was really just to have him play a part. Mm-hmm. So, and him being the neighbor is pretty classic. Dick Miller, you know, especially Gremlins.
Right.
But the boyfriend stays the night, and after having sex with Andrea, he goes downstairs to smell his pussy fingers.
That was a weird scene. That was a really weird scene.
I thought that was funny. I'm like, Jesus. He goes down to make a snack and he puts something in the microwave and the time stops. And this is another great scene that I really like.
And the ceiling fan stops spinning.
Yeah, it's like, woo, woo, woo,
yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, time just stops.
And then you hear the like microwave like, but yeah, the Jacob dad all of a sudden appears in front of him across the like kitchen table. And he's like having this conversation with him in a friendly manner, but it's very threatening. Mm-hmm. And that's not easy to pull off.
Right.
And I think Jacob, the guy who played Jacob, really did a good job. Mm-hmm. He's like, hey, you see this? This is a Walter P30 handgun. You know, the SS used to use these, blah, blah, blah. He's like, and then he like points the gun at fucking Leonard, and Leonard's about to cry. He's like, yes, I fucked her, okay? I fucked her. I'm sorry.
She's my girlfriend.
She's my girlfriend. And he's like, see, that's why we can have this conversation, but you're still dead. And he shoots, and then the time unfreezes. Like it never happened.
Right. And the microwave goes off. It was a good scene.
That was a really cool scene. I really liked it. Mm-hmm. There's also that weird mirror scene. Do you want to tell about that?
The daughter was sleeping on the couch? Is that right?
No, she goes up into a mirror in the room and she looks at herself, and another version of herself gropes herself and has an orgasm. That one? That scene?
Yeah, that was gross. Yeah. That was so stupid.
I'm just pointing it out because it's a fucking moment that is kind of odd, and it was apparently in the original book. Uh-huh. The actual mirror scene might be a scene that was taken from like another story in that book.
Right.
Apparently, Chris DeFaria or whatever was saying that the guy who wrote the book said in his book it was talking about the mirror hitting her and stuff like that. And he was like, I'm really confused. Like, you know, what is the evil? Is it actually physically hitting her, or is it just touching her? I don't really understand. And he was like, well, that's the way it is, Chris. That sounds more yeah. New Zealand or Kiwi.
Something.
Yeah. That's the way evil is, Chris. It's you never can expect it.
So all of a sudden the daughter's all sexualized and stuff.
She becomes all promiscuous and starts talking about seeing her boyfriend, but don't wait up. Because she's going to fuck him. And boy, does she. Fucks him.
And then over. Rusty goes to the neighbor's house. And then the neighbor like hypnotizes him because he was telling her about the vision he had. Right. And she wanted to kind of like have him draw it out for her or something like that. And then he went back in time. Then he'd go back in time. To where he saw where the clock was before Amityville. Right. Oh, God, it was horrible. And then the neighbor goes outside. Well, she finds it in a book. She was like, wait, is this the picture that you're talking about? Is this what you... He's like, that's what I saw. Mm-hmm. That's what I saw. It's like exactly what he saw, too, by the way. It was. And he was like, there's a little table. And she was like, yeah, that's for children. Like, she knew. Like, why do you know all this stuff? Because she's a medium. I guess. She knows. She looked at the picture. She knew. She's quirky like a medium would be. But Evil's not too fond of her bullshit, by the way, after this. Oh, no, because then it gets all Final Destination on her ass. It really does. It's kind of funny too because it decides there's like a diaper truck where this guy's delivering like diapers, which is weird. That is weird. And he's like, oh yeah, here's your order, ma'am, blah 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 blah. And there's a big gigantic stork on top of the van, and it starts itself and she gets her cane stuck in the middle of the road as she's walking. Mm-hmm. Because of Evil, of course, you know, and you see like the ground like moving and like separate, and then the cane gets stuck in the crack. The van like runs at her, but she dodges out of the way and it hits a fucking brick mailbox, and she laughs it off, of course, because this is how her character is. She's very quirky. Mm-hmm. And the fucking stork fucking pierces her chest. Right on top of her. That was really stupid and silly, but yeah, it was. It kind of reminded me of like Jack Frost or something, like the comedy beats of that. Right. You know, it just didn't feel right in this. Right. No, it was a weird scene to have in here. Some of the deaths in this movie are really silly, but I still enjoy it because at least it has effort, you know?
It's just fun and stupid at the same time. But so Lisa lures her boyfriend down to the basement where he melts into a puddle into a drain. She like sits in this like toy set for fucking trains in the middle of it. And she's like, come here. And then he's like, oh, what the fuck did I step in? Some diarrhea or something? And then it's like he's melting, but it doesn't hurt him.
Yeah.
It's really weird. Like his legs get, I don't know if he's sinking or melting or because at the end of this scene, his face is like distorted. Now, the funny thing about this is, and I don't know if this is true or not, but in The Blob, the same face was used in The Blob.
Oh, you think?
As this.
As the boyfriend?
Pretty sure. I forgot to look this up. I'm pretty sure because if you guys remember in The Blob 1988, there's a scene where there's this guy who's up in the fucking theater booth. He's running the film and there's like a scene where the yo-yo comes down and then the guy's like melted up on the ceiling and he's like, and his face is all like coming down. I swear to God, it's the same face.
Huh. Oh, that's why you wanted to rewind it.
Right. And maybe I'll try to take both scenes and compare them in a video today for you guys, this week, so that you guys can judge for yourself and see if I'm right. Because they didn't mention it. And I almost forgot to mention that. But I remember when his face melts into that little weird pile, like it looks similar. Mm-hmm. So, but I don't know. I thought that was a funny little scene.
After that, didn't the dad start making a bunch of little Amityville houses? Yeah. Because he had a project due. So all the houses he made for his little, diorama thing.
Which is funny, too, because they, like, all the houses that he was making are, like, cookie-cutter houses and, like, in this neighborhood. And, like, he was like, oh, well, let's just make them more unique. And, nothing's more unique than the Amityville house. So I guess he wanted to make a bunch of them, which is pretty cool. Leonard gets attacked in the tub, by the way. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that scene? The kid that melted in the drain
came out of the
tub to kill Leonard, but doesn't kill him, just scares him to he's like freaking out. He like reaches out of the tub. They show that the tub, after he reaches out and disappears, they show the tub overflowing. That scene, a funny story on that, by the way, Chris thought it would be a great idea to actually do an overflowing bathtub for real instead of making it look like, so they let it run a lot over and over while they were shooting the scene. And a lot of people weren't too keen on the idea because they were worried about what might happen because this is a rental home.
Right.
And a fucking, in Calabasas. So they didn't want to fuck anything up.
Right.
But after they were done, the people that were like worried about it were like, hey, that actually really worked. That's pretty great. Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
And others that, were like, see, sometimes you just got to do what it takes. And right on then, at that cue, the fucking tub fell through the fucking floor.
Are you kidding?
And to the first floor.
Oh my God, that's funny.
And he said it was a huge mess. He said you couldn't.
I bet. And they have to pay for it. You could not have timed
it any better than that.
Wow.
It's like some fucking money pit shit.
Yeah, totally. What did they think was going to happen if you have fucking water?
I mean, sometimes you do have to risk things, I'm sure, on set.
Right.
Because doing an entire, fake set just to do that shot is more money.
Right.
So, but yeah, I guess it ended up costing him more money in the end anyway.
Yeah, you think. You have to fix it. It's somebody else's house.
So Leonard tells Andrea to get out of the house and, Rusty finds his sister, Lisa, in her room and with blood all over it, like fingerprints all over the wall and shit. And she tries to fuck him.
Ooh, she licked his ear.
Well, there's that one scene where when she comes down and she's like dressed all hot, you know what I mean? To go out and meet her boyfriend. He's like, wow. So it's almost kind of like,
right.
Maybe he did think about it for a second, even though he would never do anything.
The evil's within.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
Then the cops show up.
Yeah, that scene was pretty cool too, because they're like show up and they're like, it's quiet in there, huh? And Andrea and everybody are banging on the other side of the window, and they're just kind of looking.
They can't see him.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool idea, really cheap shot that you can make. That
Yeah.
Like they
It's
look
a little
in, they can't see
confusing.
them, but Andrea and them can see them on the outside.
It's almost another dimension. It's all dimensional now.
Right. It's pretty creative.
Ugh, this ending though.
Well, Jacob, of course, this is where Jacob starts to go full-fledged fucking possessed, and he's like throwing Andrea around, like literally pushing her through the wall. Like, and you can see clock bits all over the place, which is really cool. I like that. And this is all happening while Lisa's trying to fuck her brother aggressively, and he shoves like a 1/4-inch plug from his guitar into her mouth, and she's shock dead. I'm like, that would not happen.
You're right, that wouldn't happen.
I've had a guitar. It gives you a shock, but it's not that powerful. But evil, I guess. It's amplified. Anyway, Andrea shoves a giant architect-like compass into fucking Jacob's infected leg at that point, which is pretty fucking gnarly. And I thought like they did a really good job on it. And of course, Rusty's trying to save Andrea, but he's in the clock room and he's trying to run. And as he's running, the clock turns back time and turns him into a baby child again, which she tells the clock to let him out because he's like hobbling around like a toddler trying to get out. And he goes to the door and the door opens and the kid walks out, which I wonder how many shots that took him to do.
Right. Especially with the kid.
Right. But that's, you see that the clockworks extend throughout the entire house, which I just really like that kind of thing. I think that's cool. It gives it that sort of Hellraiser-esque kind of feel. Doesn't it? A little?
Yeah, I can see it.
It's not as good, but I'm just saying it's got that like, evil's all over the place now.
It has that aura. Yeah, aura about it.
It's really embedded itself into reality, which, I don't know, it just seems cool. She turns on the gas or something, and then it pumps on the fucking time pedal to go forward this time. And she turns into an old woman.
That scene was kind of cool because, like, they literally used an old woman.
Right.
They didn't, like, make her up or anything, and they just made sure the old lady didn't talk.
Yeah, they tried to, it's like the evil couldn't kill her right away, so, like, they turned her old to slow her down from striking a match because the gas is also turned on simultaneously and fills the house with fucking gas. And she strikes a match, and it's like, boom! And you see the flying clock, like, sort of like Evil Dead 2 style, like, floating around. And then they're gonna go back in time.
That's our like inside joke.
Sorry, yeah.
Whenever
guys.
there's like time travel, like we're always like back in time.
Yeah, I
Always.
It may not be funny to them, but that's okay.
It's funny to us. Who cares?
Anyway, so she goes back so then it starts where the movie left off. She hears the doorbell. She like appears, she's in the living room, everything's back to normal, and she hears the doorbell, and the dad's coming through the front door, and he's got a new clock, and she goes through all the motions. It was almost like they took the same cuts even.
Right.
And then one cut, they like have her smash the clock.
But it's about time.
Well, yeah.
Bash the clock.
She smashes the clock because she doesn't want it to do anything again and what she went through, and it drove her crazy and shit. But then she walks off like out the door, and they're like, Jacob's all like, hey, what the hell was that all about? You just smashed that old clock. I just bought it. What the fuck? And she's like, it's about time.
End of movie.
Yeah, end of movie.
I didn't like the ending.
Well, Tony said that he really was proud of that. It was ahead of its time a little bit. Because really, it's about a woman trying to leave a bad situation. If you think about it, he's like, in a way, it kind of is ahead of its time in that, she was in a shitty fucking relationship and she should have left to begin with, and she shouldn't have been with him.
Well, maybe she should have went and watched his kids.
That's what he said, though. I'm not going to change what he said. That's what he said.
Oh, no, I know that. I'm not yelling at you.
Yeah,
I'm yelling at him in the situation.
I don't know. So when she leaves, it's really her leaving her past behind and moving forward.
Oh, okay.
That's why he's saying it's very forward thinking.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Stupid bitch.
But yeah, so that's it. That's all the fun stuff we had in the movie.
For that one, just wait till this next one.
Oh, God. All right, so we do have another movie that we're going to be talking about next, and that is, of course, Amityville, A New Generation from 1993. I don't have the tagline, so you might have to help me with that. But I'm going to be doing the information today for this because I miss it.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. So the story of the movie is an old mirror from the haunted Long Island house finds its way into a photographer's family where the evil soon manifests itself to cause more terror and mayhem.
The tagline is terror has a reflection all its own.
Neat. So this is directed by John Merlowski, who is the director of the movies like The Secret Agent Club with Hulk Hogan, Santa with Muscles, also with Hulk Hogan, and Terminal Error, Freeway Killer, Zombie Hamlet, and a new one that's coming out or is out called Birth Mother's Betrayal.
Zombie Hamlet?
Yeah, I think I've heard of that. That one sounds familiar.
That sounds wonderful.
I think I remember that. I do. It was not too long ago. It was like a comedy.
Oh.
Anyway, this movie was also written by Chris DeFaria, who we've spoken about before. He's also mostly just a producer. Some other movies that he's produced, other than Ready Player One and Mad Max Fury Road, he also did Gravity and Tremors 2. Mm-hmm. Also, this was written by Antonio Toro, who did both of these movies and nothing else. So, but Chris DeFaria said that he actually did a lot of the darker elements in both of those films.
Oh.
Both of these films. So
these two?
Yeah. This movie is starring Ross Partridge, who plays Keys. He is Lonnie Byers in Stranger Things. He was in a movie called Hangman. It's like a found footage movie about a home invasion sort of thing. Room 104, which he also directed too, by the way. Another movie called Stray, Ravage, and Phobias, which is a newer one. This also stars Julia Nixon, who plays Suki. She was in Rambo First Blood Part 2, K2. She was also a big part in Double Dragon live action movie and Ready Player One bit part, and a newer one called The Unbidden.
Unbidden?
Bidden. Yep.
Oh.
Anyway, this also stars Layla Sloatman, who's Lane. She's been in a lot of stuff like The Watchers from 1988, Dream a Little Dream, Joe versus the Volcano, The Adventures of Ford Fairlane, Pump Up the Volume, Dragon, The Bruce Lee Story, and many more. Also has David Naughton, who plays Dick the landlord, who is probably best known for his lead role in American Werewolf in London. He was also he's the main kid.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he was also he's a little bigger in this movie than he was in those movies. But.
Right, but the facial features.
Yeah. He was also in a Detroit Rock City, an H.P. Lovecraft movie called The Gathering, The Sleeping Car, Steel and Lace, Body Bags, Ice Cream Man, Mirror 3, which I forgot that was actually had sequels.
Huh.
God forbid. I don't know.
So he was in another Mirror movie.
Yeah. That's a good point. He was also in Big Bad Wolf, Brutal Massacre Comedy, and plenty more. Also has Richard Roundtree, who plays the artist Paulie, the neighbor who has the shotgun rig. Mm-hmm. He was in the original Shaft movies and the TV series as well. He was in Earthquake, Q the Winged Serpent, Young Warriors, City Heat, Maniac Cop, Angel 3, Blood Fist 3, and Theodore Rex, which is the Whoopi Goldberg fucking dinosaur movie.
Oh, what is that? I don't remember that.
It's stupid.
I know. It can't be as stupid as this movie.
I don't know. We also get Terry O'Quinn, who is Detective Clark. He's most known for playing the sort of bad guy in Lost.
Yeah. My favorite show.
Yeah. But he was in Stepfather 1 and 2, Blind Fury, The Cutting Edge, Tombstone, Castle Rock, and Emergence.
He was in Castle Rock. He was also in 666 Park Avenue.
That's right. Oh, yeah, we watched that.
Yeah, it was only one season, but I like that show.
Also stars Robert Russler, who plays the pissed off Suki's boyfriend. He was in Weird Science, A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Sometimes They Come Back, Ray Donovan, Tales of Halloween, The Outsiders, and Vamp, plus many more. So he was a small bit role in this movie.
Right.
But a big actor.
Right. Big actor.
Plus, we also get a cameo from Lynn Shay, who makes an appearance, who we don't need to explain if you're a horror fan of any sort. Right. She's been in everything, including the original Nightmare on Elm Streets, or a lot of the different movies. She's been in multiple Nightmare on Elm Streets, actually.
Right.
She plays pretty good crazy in this, I think.
Yeah, she does. It's subtle.
A small part, but
it's a subtle crazy.
Yeah. So I think this movie was made on $1.5 million. So
straight to video.
Bit more straight to video. But what are your thoughts on this?
Oh, God. Oh, I had to watch this movie twice. It was hell.
Because
I fell asleep. I wasn't feeling good.
Yeah, it was Tuesday night. We did get a late start. That's kind of my fault because I'm fucking ADD, disorganized, and I do a million different things at once. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't that late. And she ended up watching it with me anyway, which really made me happy. But she didn't take notes.
I didn't take notes. I had to watch it again.
I'm so sorry, baby.
Fucking hell. But
that'll be a lesson, huh?
It did make me think because a lot of movies came out around this period about struggling artists. Like Slaves of New York. I love that movie.
It's a big 90s thing, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Independence, again.
So I thought that was a really creative way to incorporate the idea into the Amityville movies. Mm-hmm. But, dear God, this was so boring to me. And the story was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been good, but I just couldn't get into it. So I just was, I don't know.
I understand.
But my second time watching it, it totally reminded me of like an episode of Friends. Because you're
going on your way to be killed by a demon in a mirror.
There you go.
Or is it four claps?
Yes.
By the way, that's
It's
yeah, I don't know. There's a weird thing about that online. If you guys look up Friends and how many claps there are.
Oh, that's a whatever effect, a Mandela effect.
Mandela effect, yeah. But anyway, continue.
Anyway, so yes, I thought this reminded me of an episode of Friends because they're living in this building and they're living by each other and they go to a coffee shop, right? And they're having all their relationship troubles and love life is all messed up and all. Yeah. So it was just it
does have that feel a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it totally does. But other than that, I give 2 out of 10. 2 out of 10. I don't even know what to say. Yeah, it was tough. It was a tough one for me.
Okay.
What about you?
Well, at first I was kind of into this movie, but it kind of rapidly became one for the meh pile.
Right.
And then even maybe below that, it's kind of unfortunate that it was because, I was hoping for more of like, it's about time. This one chooses a mirror, obviously, for the next Amityville target to haunt, but never fully uses it. It sort of does, but...
So, I'm spooky.
I really feel like they could have added more scenes involving the mirror rather than it just sort of affecting people. Because it's not like in Warlock 2, I think it was Warlock 2, where the guy gets trapped in the mirror world.
Uh-huh.
They should have done something like that. It was a mirror world, but it wasn't a mirror world. Do you know what I mean? Like, you didn't really feel like it was a mirror world.
I don't know.
But they were limited in what they could do. CGI was very shitty at this time, and it was also very expensive. So they ended up using a lot of original, like, people from the original Amityville horror on this movie. Just, trivia on there. It feels very just underutilized to me. That's all I feel. But, like, say something like Oculus. Which
That's
some
a great
say,
movie.
Yeah, some say it isn't a good movie, but I think it's a pretty decent one, minus a few parts that kind of got under my skin.
Right.
But Oculus feels like it took this story and then tried to make it better. Mm-hmm. So in a way, this is kind of a remake. The Oculus is almost like a remake in a weird way.
Yeah. Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah, it really does feel like that to me.
Right.
There is some gore and nudity, but it's very minimal. The mirror isn't exactly a work of art either. It's a little too on the nose for evil with like a smiling, stupid demon on the top with red eyes, which is super silly.
No. It looks like you bought it at Spirit Halloween.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Like, it totally looked like that.
Hey, I mean, the art department, they sometimes do what they can, Sometimes they do stuff and they don't want it that way. You know what I mean?
Well, they should have kept trying.
Maybe the art department gave them something that was fucking knocking it out of the fucking park and a little bit more real. And the fucking director said, nah, I want it to look like fucking Halloween, baby. Anyway, the dialogue and the acting in this movie are pretty sufficient, though, for a watch. But it's not exactly one that I'd, like, pull off the shelf and be like, this scene, this performance is so good. But honestly, in the bigger scheme of things, it's not a bad cast. There's some really decent actors in this movie, whether they get to show their chops or not.
Right.
Terry O'Quinn was probably the best actor in this entire movie. Not surprised at all.
Right.
Lin Shaye, obviously, too. but they were very smaller characters.
Minimal.
Yeah, he was in this movie.
Minimal.
Yeah, he was in this movie. There was that investigation story that didn't bother me so much with him because I like seeing Terry O'Quinn. But the story is ultimately just slow and honestly really pretty boring for the most part.
Yes.
You know, if the movie's story was like a plane getting ready to take off, it would never really go up. It just sort of hovers and goes below and just keeps touching the ground.
It never crashes.
I mean, some might say, I mean, you gave it a 2. That's a pretty disastrous number.
But to watch a plane crash is more entertaining.
I still don't get your
it
numbering
just
system yet.
I don't get it either.
I don't know. There are some okay scenes in it. One where there's a family that was like pumped with a shotgun. That kind of cool. That was awesome. Like a head exploded in that. That was awesome. But some of the shots, you know, they're pretty decent. The editing was okay. It just felt long. I just wanted the movie to be over. It's below average, even if you know it's a low budget 90s straight to video movie. Like no real laughs to warrant an S big stamp either. It's just a movie. A pretty plain, boring movie, unfortunately. I will say that I did like it better than the Amityville Curse Part 5. At least this is watchable, but not by much. 3.5, I'd say, out of 10.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
You know? But yeah, that other one too. Whew.
Yeah, it was bad. I think it was on par for me with this one.
Yeah, it's like I could watch it in the background. It wouldn't be like terrible to watch, but to pay too close attention is kind of a slog. So nothing really that great about it. That I don't know. It's interesting that they took it to LA in a fucking art commune.
Was it LA? Or was it? I thought it was in New York.
Oh, maybe it is. I don't remember where it was.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It's just a art house. And I just think of LA because they have a lot of those, you know, where people share like a loft or whatever, you know what I mean? Where they go and like have different levels for each, you know, an elevator that goes to each one and everybody has the whole space to be artistic.
A studio.
Yeah. No, it's a loft. It's
Right.
called a loft.
Right. It's
Right.
Yeah,
it's-
right.
Okay. But what do you guys think? I would love to hear what you guys think. Seriously. Like, do you think we're on point? Do you think we're not? Did you like this movie? Do you skip this movie every time you watch the franchise? Do you hate the franchise and never watch the franchise?
I'm getting there.
Yeah. I've heard some people say some, you know, like they like this one and I'm a little surprised by that. Like I think that there are some decent ideas in there that just weren't executed well.
I agree.
So there is some trivia on this. So if you don't want anything spoiled, as we've mentioned, you can watch this on Tubi TV for free with ads. So if you want to check that out, or you can pick up a copy from Severin, which is a 4-pack with 4, 6, 7, and 8 Amityville. It's a set for $60, I think, on there. It's on sale right now. So, but if you don't want anything spoiled, here is your warning.
Warning.
So in this movie, John Merlowski said that they couldn't afford the CGI of the time, which I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, expensive.
It looked really garbage at the time, so he didn't even really want it in the movie necessarily. But they thought maybe they could bring back William Cruz, who did the effects on the original Amityville Horror. So he came back and he was really excited to work on this old techniques that were in camera. So, you know, like the scenes where they have the mirror and there was like a face. And then there was like red glowing shit. That red glowing shit is actually on the mirror.
Oh, really?
It's not over the thing. They used a light that bounced off of a mirror onto the mirror. And then they had a head across on the other side that was reflecting it into the mirror as well.
That's interesting.
Yeah, like they had a black cloth with a fake head, the monster head that was behind, and both of them were reflecting at the same time as the camera was shooting forward.
Okay, that's interesting.
It is. It was really cool. He said it takes up a lot of space.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
So, but, you know, they gave it that classic look. So he was like, that's not so bad. That's a nice compromise. Let's try to go back to the way they did it before. Why not?
Exactly.
Which they did have a scene with the fucking demon that was like the demon that popped off the artwork and then ran around the room, which I thought was really cool looking.
Right, it was cool looking.
But it did nothing.
Right. And it was just little glimpses. It didn't really show anything.
It was cool, like red eyes and like this green mist running around.
Right.
Wally Pfister was the cinematographer on this movie, by the way. For those of you who know your shit, Wally Pfister won an Oscar for Inception. He's also done Batman Begins, The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight.
And The Rises.
The Dark Knight. My birthday's coming up. You know what that means.
Yeah. Plus, he also directed his own movie called Transcendence with Johnny Depp, the one about putting your mind into a computer and then it kind of getting smarter.
Oh, okay.
AI sort of thing. But John, the director, also said he was a little rigid on set when he made this because he was so young and he didn't want to compromise on all of his storyboards and stuff like that he had. And so he felt like he could have taken other people's ideas instead of taking the storyboards as they were and kind of let loose. And he's learned to let loose as he's gotten to direct. He just didn't want to compromise. And movies are about compromise sometimes.
Yeah, you have to.
Sometimes. I mean, some directors don't. Some do.
Right.
It just depends on what you want to do. Maybe their vision's better than what other people's ideas are. But things change on the fly all the time on a set. So you just got to go work with it. And being a director to be able to work with that kind of situation. He said one of the biggest things was the drowning out the noise of everybody asking for you every 5 seconds.
Oh my God.
That you have to just kind of hyper focus on that moment.
And get it done.
Mm-hmm. He just felt like, looking back, he felt like he should have listened a little bit more. So... Also, Chris DeFario returned, obviously, to write and produce this one. He said that this movie he learned a lot on as a producer. Made a lot of friends on this set, even if the movie didn't do well.
Oh, that's good.
He learned a lot and made a lot of friends, so it's a really special film to him for that reason. Memory, you know what I mean? So he said he'd be into remaking this movie, actually, to make it better.
Oh, that's interesting.
Maybe he's just floating that out there to see if someone bites. But I doubt they'll ever make a remake of sequel in this.
Yeah.
But the actual murders of the family in the movie, by the way, the ones that get shotgunned in the face and everything and pumped in the chest, which I fucking love. They were murders that happened before the DeFeos in the original Amityville horror.
Oh, okay. So I was wondering about that.
These murders take place in 1966 before the DeFeo killings. Supposedly.
Okay.
Seems to be the answer to that. I'm
thinking of just ages, but I guess that makes sense.
We do have a few scenes that we're going to talk about. There's some funny stuff that happened in this movie that's really bad to point out. And I hate to do that. I'm not trying to tear it apart or anything.
I'll tear it apart.
It's just part of, the fun. We talk about this shit. Maybe you'll find it and see it and think, oh, yeah, I thought it's the same fucking thing. You know what I mean?
This accent again.
I can't help it. It's almost like a piece of me now. I don't know how to, it's really weird. So there's a photographer who has an artist's loft in New York or some major city, as we mentioned before. He lives next door to Suki, another artist who's trying to make it. It's just too bad that they just stepped into the Amityville zone. Key's the main guy, the artist guy who prevents her boyfriend or whatever from breaking down the door and beating the shit out of her. I don't know what the fuck's going on with that. He's a real asshole. And then that's when they go to have coffee, right? Where you got the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole friends thing. Because it's like, oh, there's people in the building and now they're going to have coffee. Huh.
I got haunted by a mirror just this day.
And they were having coffee with the landlord, too, which is also kind of...
Yeah, he comes over. He's kind of like one of their friends, that kind of convinced him to be a manager of all these artists rather than be an artist because he's a failed artist.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so what they were saying, they're talking, and then the photographer starts taking pictures.
Well, he wants to do an art exhibit. They're going to open up this big art exhibit for all the artists in there and then make money to pay the rent.
Right. And to get new tents in the building.
Yeah.
But Keith started getting distracted because he saw a homeless guy outside. And so he started taking pictures of him.
And then all of a sudden he just pulls out a mirror. He's like, here.
Yeah.
You want a mirror?
He goes across the street and talks to the homeless man. And he was like, let me give you some money because I think I'm going to sell this picture. And yeah, then the
He's like, we should share the profits, don't you think? And he was like, here's a mirror. Turns out that guy's his dad. Spoiler alert. Yeah. But that's the stupid part of this movie, really.
It really was. It made no fucking sense.
I mean, I kind of get, they just could have done it better. You know what it kind of reminded me of is was it Looper or no, Butterfly effect.
Oh.
It reminded me of Butterfly effect a little bit.
Huh.
Where his dad was in prison and shit, and he goes back in time and he keeps flashing back to him seeing his dad in the mirror.
Oh, that's right. Another fucking mirror.
Right, but just picture a fucking homeless man just giving you this shitty mirror. He's like, I don't really need it, but
Ugly.
that's a nice mirror.
And then doesn't Suki ends up taking the mirror.
Because she loves it more than him, and he's like, I'm going to throw it out, so... But yeah, that night, Suki's boyfriend breaks into her studio and is like literally cutting up all her art and slashing it. And he looks into the mirror and sees the future self of him.
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
Yeah, who's the most slashed up, fucked up face of them all, I guess. And he like sees like his face getting punctured and he freaks out. And because he freaks out, he slams his head into a window and then dies on the floor from blood, which is kind of dumb.
Yeah, it was kind of, when he accidentally cut his throat, they should have showed that, you know?
Well, that's where all the cuts on his face came from, I guess.
Right.
Because he didn't have them when he ran.
That's when the detective shows up, because he has to investigate this guy's death.
Right. And what did he say? He said something kind of funny about that, didn't he? About him dying on the floor. He's like, wow, it looks like he saw his own reflection and got scared and ran out the window.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's silly.
It's like, it's so funny because like, it's almost like this cop is a bad cop. Like he's a good cop. He's a good guy, but he's bad at detecting. He's good at detecting, but he's like almost like covering the tracks for the evil in some regard.
Well, it's because he's a cop and he's his job.
All right.
And sorry. Okay, I'm done. But then Suki, like everybody leaves, right? So then this part, I don't understand. So now Suki's like poking herself with the glass, right? And it's like she wants to kill herself, but she's not ready to kill herself. So then she starts going into an artistic rampage.
Right,
and
yeah.
just starts painting all these pictures.
Yeah, she's like completely possessed, obviously, by the mirror and gets inspiration to basically paint like 20 different paintings or some shit, which she's got all rigged up on some fucking rope system.
Like pulley system.
Right, and the fucking landlord guy who's friends and has a wife is living downstairs and she like tries to seduce him or whatever.
Yeah, she starts hitting on him and then they start making out, right?
Wait, does she get killed before or after that?
She gets killed after.
Okay, so
because they start making out, and then the detective comes over again because he wants something to do with their statements, and then
she kind of rats him out.
She calls Keys because the detective needs keys for the state, blah blah, and then she ends up having called Dick out. She has to get the dick out. I don't know.
Jesus.
But this part like irritated me because he had so much time to put his shirt back on. You know what I mean?
He was so scared he didn't grab it and ran, and then she rats him out, and the cops, and then she sees him, and then Keys walks in and is like, "Oh, well, this is happening."
Right.
But they never bring it up again.
Right.
Meanwhile, Keys keeps having dreams about the Amityville house and the family that lived there, because like each time he has this dream, it goes a little bit further and a little bit further. It's him walking down the hallway, hearing the knives being sharpened by the fucking dad in this movie, or from the past in 1966 or whatever. And he eventually gets to the point where he shoots everybody, which is really cool. But in one scene, Christina pointed out that the clock was there from the previous film,
right,
in that fucking room in that dream, which it totally was.
Yeah, it was the exact same clock, which I thought, okay, I give them credit, that was creative,
same production. So I mean,
right.
But Keys and his girlfriend come by and they can't find Suki, who's been killed by the green demon or whatever that hopped off her artwork conveniently.
And then the detective comes back because they found a homeless man's body.
Right, which is weird because they don't really explain why he's there.
Yes, because they found his keys. They found Keys' name and phone number in the homeless man's pocket. So the detective wanted to know, why was his phone number in your
Yeah, do you know this guy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why.
So the homeless guy who gave him the mirror, who we find out later is his father, he has to go and identify the body, and he, in some regard, he can't find Suki, right?
Right, because Dick found Suki.
We know that she died because of the demon, the green demon, but they don't know. So he's like concerned that it's her, and he's like relieved that it's this homeless guy who he finds out is his dad.
And then So Dick goes in Suki's studio looking for Suki, and then the pictures are moving on their own. And then all of a sudden, Suki comes flying out. She's been hung, and she comes flying out.
He's like, oh, God, Suki. And he takes her down. Like, I wouldn't touch the body.
I wouldn't either, because you're going to get blamed for that shit.
Yeah.
Don't you listen to Dateline?
She's clearly been dead for a day or two, too. Like, she's all blue, you know? That's when Keys finds out that the homeless guy, he pled insanity after killing his whole family in Amityville. So this homeless guy, Keys goes to the asylum where he was kept to find out more. And it turns out when he inherited the house, he only wanted the mirror and took the mirror with him and became homeless somehow and crazy.
But when he went to the asylum, boom, that's when Lynn Shay is there and she's the nurse.
Right. Which she's the one that tells him the whole story about this, even further, because he goes there. There was like a flashback with his now father that killed his mother. Again, kind of stupid twist.
It was very stupid.
Plus, not to mention, the cop for some reason knew he was his son and didn't tell him. Like,
right.
Okay, so like he leads him on this path to go find out this information and doesn't tell him that that's his father. Like, why in the fuck would you do that? He's like, well, you needed to learn on your own, not me through telling you. He's like, you figured it out, didn't you? And then he's like, oh, I guess you're right.
So do you think the detective's the one who put Keys' name on the guy's tombstone? Which I also thought was weird.
That's really weird. Like, you would never keep that kind of secret from somebody.
Who would put their child's name on their tombstone?
Well, it said loving father of
Keys, whatever his last name was.
Yeah, right. And he freaks out. He's like, why is that on there?
Usually it just says loving father, though, or loving husband. It doesn't say the name.
Yeah.
That pissed me off.
There was another scene where Keys wakes up from the dream again a little bit more each time. Like I said, it gets a little further each time. And this time it's the family at dinner getting shot each time by him. And it's like popping them, like one's in the dad's face and the mom in the chest, but they cut away for the kids, obviously. He looks into the same mirror and what's causing all the problems and wakes up screaming, which they have a really cool shot where they had the camera strapped to his chest and he's like, oh! Which was cool. Like I said, there is some cool shots in here. It's just pointless.
So Keys tells his girlfriend about all this, and then the girlfriend has this wonderful idea. Oh, well, you should put it in your show, and she brings him a squirt gun.
Yeah, to deal with your family's past of shooting everybody, why don't you just, act it out, and then you'll be done with it. And which kind of makes sense in a little bit of way, but he's like, no, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it for real or something like that.
Right. So then the other neighbor actually did an art installation that had a gun attached to it.
The guy from Shaft, the original. Yeah,
that guy.
A shotgun attached to the top of a TV on a timer with a chair facing the danger end, the dead end of the fucking gun.
So you know what's going to happen with that gun.
And supposedly it's actually really loaded in the story.
Seems like a little bit of a risk to me.
Yeah, but he's an artist. That's what artists do. They take risks. Real artists. Anyway, Keen's installation is the same dinner table that he keeps dreaming about, which he originally had like these different stand-ups, but like the pictures of the faces that he was going to use for each of the family members keep showing up as like...
They keep getting blurred.
Like demon faces. Yeah. But so he puts up mirrors instead.
Oh.
Yeah. So then there's this like... thing where everybody's downstairs at this party that they're having this installation, this art thing or whatever, and the demonic wind shoots out all of the windows before he's ready to show it to everyone, and it blows him up against the wall. He's like, I refuse to be like you. Like he's like fighting the evil somehow.
The evil mirror he's
which
fighting.
Which is stupid, dude. It's really dumb.
And I'll be honest, like about this part is where I zoned out again for the second time.
He gets obviously sucked back into the mirror, into the evil mirror verse, whatever, which is the hospital that his dad was in with all his friends in each of the rooms. Like every one of his friends that died, like Suki's in one room and his dick buddy, the landlord and friend is down in there and like all these different people. And that's when he comes across the homeless guy got a blanket over him or whatever, and he goes to stab him in the chest, and his dad, all dead, says, "I'm proud of you, son. Amityville is in your blood."
It's in your blood.
Yeah, so stupid. Keys gets thrown back out and takes the gun from the neighbor's like installation that has the real shells in it and everything, and he holds it under his chin to prevent himself from killing everyone, but he hears them sharpening the knives at the dinner table to kind of redo the scene with his family. Mm-hmm. And he brings the shotgun with him and starts shooting at stuff on the fucking, on the table. And this is my favorite thing in this movie. This is so fucking funny to me. So the evil locks everyone in, and they soon realize it's a real gun, and they're like pleading with him as he's shooting everything on the table. And the police show up, and the mirror pushes him to kill the friends or whatever, but he doesn't. And the cop is like, "Don't shoot, Keys. Don't shoot." And I'm like, yeah, okay. And the cop is like telling the other cops, "Don't shoot him." And he's like, no, wait, just wait. He's got this. We're rooting for him. You know what I mean? And I'm like, this would never fucking happen, especially now.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
You know?
Oh, he'd already be dead. End of the movie.
Yeah, I know. So Keys like shoots the mirror, obviously, which you see that coming from a mile away for fucking 10 minutes. And the cop is like, "Big mistake, Keys. 7 years bad luck." I'm like, yeah, 7 years bad luck in prison for aggravated assault, motherfucker. Right. You ain't getting out of that. It ain't no fucking pat on the back.
Right.
You just fired a fucking gun in a fucking place.
But he was possessed. I was possessed by demons.
Right, and he's such a good detective that he knew.
Yeah, he just knew.
Like, there's no way.
No way.
There's no way they thought that they could reach through to him.
Nope.
What kind of liberal hokey pokey is this goddamn shit? Anyway, I'm totally kidding, guys. Anyway, but yeah, that's the end of the movie, and it's pretty fucking...
Yay.
Yeah, I was not real excited about this one. I'm hoping Dollhouse is a little better. It's got some wild shit in it.
Everybody keeps saying.
What, the Dollhouse?
The Dollhouse. You got to make it to Dollhouse.
Right. Well, we got that one, and we're going to watch another one. I think it's called Amityville: The Awakening, by the way, guys.
It awakes again.
That one came out in 2017. The last one before that was the remake with Ryan Reynolds, which we actually did an episode on.
Oh, you did?
Uh-huh. It was way back in the day. Oh. We did Amityville for the Amityville horror.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was like, I'm pretty sure we did, but I get so confused anymore. It's really bad.
3 years.
Right. Well, yeah, it's been many years.
That's a lot of movies.
Many conversations, many researches. Researching. Much research. But yeah, we're going to do those two next week. So we'll do the Amityville Dollhouse from 1996. That might be on Tubi TV, and the Amityville The Awakening at least is available for rent. So if you guys want to check those out beforehand, that's what we'll be doing next week. And then we're going to do some movies that were sent to me to review. And I got some new stuff in a video haul. Check it out on YouTube. But yeah, guys, don't forget, please do follow us on YouTube. And if you have Reddit and you want to follow us there too, it really does help out. We're trying to reach as many people as we can because we put a lot of passion and heart into this. And I hope you guys see that each week, as much as we love doing this together. And Christina's become quite the mainstay now, I think, so what do you think?
Where am I going to go?
I really appreciate you, Christina. So she's filled in for this whole pandemic thing, and it's actually been working out, in my opinion.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think you have a different perspective that is important to have. Like, I love having Patrick on, don't get me wrong, and anybody else that's been on. But if we agree too similarly, there's not enough for people to really, feel. You know what I mean? Like some people may not like what I like. And people who like me, so
right.
You're a little different. It's a nice
different.
flair. But yeah, guys, next week, those 2 new Amityville movies. So if you want to check them out, please do. We'll be back with a brand new episode. And as always,
long live the voice.